welcome to Around the Clock's Select Board update for the meeting that happened on Wednesday, June 16th. We had a full hour of scheduled appointments starting at 7 o'clock. Our first appointment at 7:05 was the announcement of the acting chief. He will be Chief Briggs, with Chief Alfano retiring as of June 30th. Chief Briggs will be taking over as an acting chief until we determine the process for hiring a new chief. From there, we had a discussion and an appointment with the corner spot for decanted wine. This is a very fancy camper that has been redone, and they're going to be coming to the corner spot on two dates to offer wine and some beer for the event that's happening. One is Culture Fest and one is a women's shopping event. So make sure you check out the corner spot calendar for both of those events. And we did approve the one-day licenses for those dates. From there, we went to a discussion with Ashland Ale House. They are looking to do a permanent patio and permanent outdoor seating. Even though the governor has signed a bill for temporary outdoor seating for restaurants, this is now looking to do a permanent location for Ashland Ale House, similar to what we did with TJ's at our last meeting. From there, we went to a discussion with Boston VIP Limo Service. They are an Ashland business. They had a location outside of Ashland prior to the pandemic. Unfortunately, with the pandemic, they went out of business. They're now restarting their limo service, and that will be based at Metropolitan Ave with one limo. And then their hope is to build and then move it back out of town. And we approved their license as well. From there, we had an Eversource poll hearing for Douglas Street. This is off of 126. It's over by 12 Pond Street. There is a conduit that Eversource needs to put in the ground to help send power to the 12 Pond Street location. So after some discussion with Eversource, we approved that as well. From there, we went into our consent agenda. We had a couple of appointments. We had a couple of minutes that were available. If you watch the full select board meeting, you can read the full list of items on the consent agenda in the screen because it was posted online on the Zoom meeting. So catch it either on the cable or via YouTube. From there, we went into old and new business. The first thing we did was to vote to award and execute some bond documents. As you know, we have two major projects that are moving forward, both the Public Safety Building and the Mendez Building, and we are bonding the money for both of those. One is a bond and one is a bond anticipated. So both of those got passed, and then our clerk, Rob Scheer, got to read a very lengthy document to be able to allow us to do that, and he did a great job. From there, we discussed two things related to COVID reopening as to when we're going to have meetings, whether we're staying in person or staying on Zoom. And then we also started a discussion about remote participation. So these are two different things. The first is participation under the current legislation that allows us to continue going remote and doing hybrid, or we're looking to do hybrid. And then the second discussion was remote participation so that when we get out of the emergency orders and the legislation that was just passed, the ability for, if you have a select board or other committee member who is traveling, they can participate remotely in that meeting. And that final vote will be happening at our next meeting. From there, we discussed the naming of the Roundabout. So Route 126 project is moving forward, and Ed Bates has been working on this project for probably 30 years, even though we haven't seen movement or in different ways. So we voted at our select board meeting, once the Roundabout is built, and we will have some kind of formal ceremony when that happens, it will be known as the Ed Bates Roundabout. Thank you, Ed, for all the work that you've done for our community and for that Route 126 project. From there, we announced a vacancy on the Board of Health and on the Conservation Commission. KG Nariano, who was on both of those, has moved out of town, and as happens, if you move out of town, you can no longer be an elected official or appointed to one of our committees. So we have announced that opening. We will be doing a joint meeting with the Board of Health for the Board of Health position. And because the Select Board appoints the Conservation Commission, we are looking for people to apply, talk to the Conservation Commission, and we are hoping to have a recommendation back from them also for the June 30th meeting. From there, we talked about an open meeting law complaint. At our last meeting, we discussed an open meeting law complaint for some minutes, from executive minutes, from back to 2013. We had not been able to require them. We've now responded to that open meeting law complaint. We've found most of the meetings and we're still working on it, and we voted to approve, and we have now sent that response to the state, and most of the minutes that we voted on at our last meeting have now been sent to the person who filed that. From there, we discussed a potential development webinar. Brandy Kinsman, one of our members, has talked about and is going to start developing an online webinar where people and where residents can find out what's going on with development, what our process is. She's going to start working on that, and she'll present more when we come back to our next meeting. From there, we had our priority project updates downtown. If you've been in downtown, you know that things are moving forward. There's construction going on. There is utility work going on. Unfortunately, it will be going on for a little while. It's one of those projects that we have to work with the issues. We have heard some complaints about traffic, and I know our staff and our police department are working on trying to improve some of that as some of this construction happens. So if you have issues or concerns, please reach out to the town manager's office or to the public works department to see and maybe we can fix something. It's always important to get that feedback. Rail Transit District, not a lot going on there right now. UGC is in front of the planning board trying to get their final meetings and permits. We're hoping for that to be updated soon so that they can start construction. Public Safety Building and Mendez, again, if you've driven by the Public Safety Building location on Union, right there going up to the high school, they are moving forward. There's concrete in the ground for footings, and they are working diligently. And when we spoke to the chief, we found out that it's going to be about a 12-month process. So very possibly next year around this time, we'll be having a ribbon cutting for a new public safety building. From there, we talked about the Route 126 project that is moving forward. They are doing some sewage work on the south side from Spyglass Hill down to Holliston. So be on the lookout for barrels and police and a little bit of traffic. But again, the project is moving forward. We're working with the state, and we're still trying to get a more detailed schedule. Unfortunately, we've been not had the ability to do that. From there, we moved into our town manager report. We had 3 items. There's been a discussion about a tourism destination marketing district. This is driven by the hotels. We've been given an approach. We've been approached by Framingham State with their hotel there about trying to do this. So we're going to get more information and work with the Framingham State and other hotels, not only in Ashland, but in the area to see about doing this district. What it would do is it would allow us to get some extra revenue to support tourism. We had a town meeting review. Town meeting happened on Saturday, June 12th, sorry, not January. It started at 10. We had 10 articles. We went through pretty quickly. There was some good discussion about the last 3 articles, which were zoning articles. A big thank you to everyone that came out. If you have questions and want to watch the full meeting, again, you can go to WACA. Either it's being replayed on the channel, or you can go and catch it on either our Vimeo or YouTube, and you can see all the discussion that happened. And the last thing we had was we were told about a new initiative that Framingham State is planning on doing at the Warren Conference Center. They are planning on creating and offering a university community club, where you would pay an annual membership and it would give you access to the amenities at the Warren Conference Center, and there'll be more coming out about that. We had our board reports and we wrapped up just after 10 p.m. So another good night. Again, the next meeting will be Wednesday, June 30th, because we won't be having a meeting on July 7th. Thanks for watching the Select Board Update.